Hey, this is Pastor Bunjee Garrett, and I want to take this opportunity to present you with another word of encouragement. Well, it's just 5 more days until Christmas, and I have no doubt that, most Americans are scrambling as we attempt to accomplish everything that we need to complete before Christmas Eve. At the same time, we shouldn't be surprised to learn that the devil and his demons are working really hard, just to make a mockery of this holiday, or what we would call a holy day, which we've actually set aside to celebrate the birth of our Savior Jesus. For example, it was last Sunday at the Sunshine Cathedral in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. That's where the Christmas service turned into a depraved dance party, which included a group of shirtless men who were strutting their stuff up on stage. As a matter of fact, there were 4 guys wearing nothing but red velvet Santa shorts and a Santa hat. They danced on stage in a sexually explicit way, as a singer sang a secular song about the day when he saw his mommy kissing Santa Claus. Now, it should be noted that the Sunshine Cathedral describes itself as a church that affirms the belief that every person is a divine child of God and therefore intrinsically good. Now, that's interesting because, what the Bible teaches is that we're all born under the stain of Adam's sin and therefore must be born again by faith in Jesus Christ so that the stain of sin can be cleansed and so that we can become the adopted children of God. Sadly, this is a basic theological truth that's quickly dismissed in many modern churches like the Sunshine Cathedral. And it's also a doctrine that's, it's just completely rejected in many other churches. And I want to consider one church in Florida. It's found there in Coral Springs that has also used their Christmas service as a time to exchange the divine for the depraved. It was just this past Sunday when the worship team there at Church of by the Glades, they started their service with the Willy Wonka theme song, Pure Imagination, and then that song then transitioned into Aaron Carter's song, I Want Candy, and then after showing a series of Christmas-themed movie clips from secular films like Home Alone, A Christmas Story, and Frosty the Snowman, that's when the worship team again came back and they went on to cover Christina Aguilera's song Candyman, which is all about a player who makes the girl's panties drop. Happy birthday, Jesus. Oh, man. Oh, and then there's the Prestonwood Baptist megachurch, which produced a Christmas service, which, according to one report, was indistinguishable from a Hallmark movie. Wow, that's quite the description. The same reporter referred to this service as, and I quote here, a triumph of the end times Laodicean church. Wow. This Baptist megachurch in Plano, Texas, it hosted a Christmas show that featured a cast of nearly 1,000 people. And with a cast like that, well, you better believe that they had a Santa Claus flying in a real sleigh over the head of the auditorium there, and with elves singing a rocking version of Santa Claus is Coming to Town. And I'm sure we all agree that, this is all much cleaner than half-naked men dancing around in red velvet shorts. And yet, listen, this is still nothing more than a shift from the sacred to the secular. And it's sad to say that this is becoming more and more common in many, many modern churches. For example, I recently heard about a large nativity scene set up in the Basilica of Santa Maria, which is located in Trastevere, Italy. And while the front side of this scene, it features the traditional nativity characters like Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus, there are also several different scenes that are connected to the entire display. And one scene includes a healthcare worker who's holding a COVID-19 vaccination with a 5th dose certificate, ready to hand it to someone who's waiting, because there's people in the scene with masks on and they're waiting for their next mRNA injection, just like Jesus commanded. Oh, and then there's the greeting card company that has decided to produce queer Christmas cards, which, actually exchange the true biblical account of the nativity scene for the historic revision. It's a historic revision of created by those with depraved minds. You see, rather than presenting cards that include pictures of Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus, these queer Christmas cards have, either 2 Marys, or you can choose a card with 2 Josephs. Never mind the fact that this is biblically inaccurate. These people are happy to exchange the truth for the lie as they worship. and serve the creation rather than the Creator. And listen, if that's not bad enough, then you might like to know that Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, well, she just signed an executive order which directs every state government agency to now conform to Prop 3, which is the new constitutional amendment that guarantees people in Michigan the right to an abortion. And while this depraved decision comes as no surprise, we must not miss out on one little detail. According to this executive order, Proposal 3, which was passed via a ballot initiative back in November, well, it's going to begin to be enforced on Christmas Eve. That's right. It's going to be enforced on Christmas Eve of all days. Not December 1st, not December 31st, not the beginning of the year on January 1st. No, this executive order, which requires every state agency in Michigan to conform to Prop 3, will begin to be enforced on Christmas Eve. That's right. As we begin to celebrate the birth of the baby Jesus, the right to abort babies will begin to be enforced there in Michigan. I can't help but to wonder if Governor Gretchen Whitmer, I can't help but to wonder if she, maybe read through the Bible and then found a hero in Herod. Herod, the one who sought to murder our Savior by putting to death all the male babies who were there in Bethlehem. Yeah, I'm guessing that's her Bible hero. Well, now listen, in light of these stories, I just want to take a moment to remind you about the reason for this sacred season. The reason for why this is a sacred season is because of Jesus. Yeah, Jesus is the reason for the season. And while I realize that this is completely a cliche, well, it's also crucial for Christians to remember that Christmas is all about Christ. It's right there in the word, Christmas. It's Christ Mass. That being the case, why should we exchange the sacred for the secular during this holiday? Why should we trade the divine for the depraved just to be attractive to the world? We shouldn't. We should keep Christ at the center of our Christmas. I like the way that Paul put it in Galatians chapter 4. There he declared, "When the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his Son, born of a woman, born under the law, to redeem those who were under the law, that we might receive the adoption as sons. And because you are sons, God has sent forth the Spirit of his Son into your hearts, crying out, Abba, Father. Therefore you are no longer a slave, but a son, and if a son, then an heir of God through Christ." Christian, listen, as the adopted children of God, let's remember that the birth of the baby Jesus is all about our Savior, who was sent to save sinners like us from the condemnation of the law. And if this doesn't fill your mind with just a wonderful sense of incredible awe, then I encourage you to spend more time meditating on the mission and the ministry of our Messiah. Knowing that the sinful sons of Adam can become the adopted children of God by faith in Jesus Christ, well, this ought to fill our hearts with the joy of Jesus on Christmas Day and every day for the rest of eternity. And with this as the message of hope, well, let's celebrate Christmas by presenting this free gift of grace to those who are willing to consider the Christ of Christmas. And as we do, the Lord will help us to fight the good fight of faith, and all for the glory of God.